Good morning, everybody. Pretty quiet outside markets today. Crude steady, down a little bit. I should say down like a buck, but everything else is pretty steady. Let's jump right into December corn. December corn currently is up 2.25 and at 473.25. After yesterday, you now got some pretty decent lines in the sand here for the last 2 days as far as swing highs and swing lows go. Obviously, yesterday got up to some resistance, got up just above the 5 day, could not hang on to it, came down, did hold above the yellow line or 100 day, and are trying to bounce a little bit again today, but it's just some little back and forth action here, nothing to be able to say, hey, this is a pretty decent move one way or the other right now. But yesterday's swing high of 476.5 is now a really nice little swing high. If you can get above that, maybe you'd find some buying. Really, you need to see some closes above some of these moving averages before you can get too excited, especially with the way everything else looks. I mean, there's nothing from an outside indicator that you would look at and say, this is pushing us this way. We should reverse this. I mean, this looks still just like a market that's pretty much in a place where it's found its trend that it wants to have for a little while, and until we get some of this selling out of the system, it's going to be tough to turn this thing around. This swing low from 2 days ago, 469.25, is now a really nice swing low. You break that, I would say you'd run down to that 466 or the 62% retracement at 465.5 of the whole move up. That would be a 62% retracement from the low back in January that we saw to the high that we saw so far in March. I'd say we're definitely going to go there. You look at the weekly chart, I can pull that up here. Now, this is obviously going off of the old crop, so currently would be the May still, I believe. Let me double check that. Yeah, the May still. This is a pretty nice little trend line. It looks like you'd at least maybe want to come down to the 50-week, which is at 436 3/8. If you break that, you certainly have potential to come down to this support, more in the 420s or so. So that would be about a 20-cent drop from where we are today. In relationship, obviously the spreads and stuff would be a little bit different, but you're looking at 15-20 cents more, possibly at least of downside. Maybe you even want to come try to fill this gap over here, which maybe that doesn't happen until you actually get a crop in the ground, but it is possible that that's a place that you could take this down to, which would be more like 405.25 to fill that gap for old crop. So that you're looking at close to close to 35 cents or so in relationship to what Dees might do with that, 25 cents, something like that. That's stuff that could happen in the short term here. It also could be that we don't get that far right now, and that's something that happens once we get the crop grown. So let's get back to the daily here. But short term, still downside, still the trend is still down. I would guess we're at least going to go down to the 62% retracement in the short term, but we won't know that until we get this move below 469.25. All right, moving into soybeans. Break this down a little more. Soybeans currently up to 1151.75. Obviously a pretty good reversal after I mentioned yesterday we had just made that double top. As soon as we opened up today's session, we kind of reversed this down, got back below that trend line again, didn't want to be up there very long, and closed okay, closed near the lows but up above the 20-day moving average. Trying to bounce this a little bit now. We did poke out that low overnight from yesterday. We're just at the 5-day again, which I've said many times is kind of, once you start getting to these places, that can be a pretty good line of resistance, and it's at 1152.5. So that will be your resistance today, and then the trend line sitting at 1156.5. Yesterday did give you a nice swing high, so 1164.25. You did take out that high a little bit, so if you were to reverse this back, get above that, then we might be off to the races, frankly. So nice little trend line area down here too. I would say personally after yesterday, we're definitely coming down to the bottom side of this trend line at some point. Depending on what they do it somewhere in the low 1140s, and then it will just depend on what kind of news we get there. That could send us, this is your range right now. You're going to tighten this thing up a little bit as we move forward, and then it's going to have to pick a direction. Frankly, I would prefer it would just go down here and kind of wash some of this out right now so that we could get ourselves into a position for some good summer potential, which I still think we have. I mean, you've got tight carryouts with tighter carryouts with soybeans. And like I mentioned yesterday, it doesn't really matter how much South America produces if China actually commits to a certain amount to buy from us. So I think beans do have some really good potential if we get some weather this summer. You got lower acres, tighter carryouts. All of those things are friendly, which is why it's held up so well up to this point, plus the oil stuff. But it seems like things have kind of separated themselves from that at this point. So in the short term, overnight low, 1146.5 is going to be your support. I would guess we're going to work on down to this trend line somewhere in the low 1140s in the short term. I'll know I'm wrong if we take out this high from yesterday of 1164.25. I just don't see that happening right away. But if it does, you better jump on board. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks. Talk to you soon.